Hello YouTube, I'm Tyler and welcome back to another Fischler Moto video. In today's video I'm going to be working on my 2001 ZX6R J2. As the other week while I was out riding I hit quite a crater off a pothole very hard, and since then my front wheel bearings have been making a bit of a knocking noise while riding. So in today's video I'm going to be replacing the front wheel bearings and showing you how you can do it yourself at home with a few simple and basic tools. I'm going to bring the bike into the garage so that we can make a start on getting the front wheel off the bike. But before that, let's have a look at what tools and equipment we're going to need to be able to do this job.
You're going to need some grease, a ratchet with a 12mm socket, some needle nose pliers, a 6mm, a 17mm and a 22mm Allen key, a small pry bar and a flathead screwdriver, a rubber mallet, a metal bar, your new wheel bearings and dust seals. Now we know what we need, let's make a start by undoing the two 6mm Allen key bolts at the bottom of the fork legs. Next, using my ratchet and a 12mm socket, I undo the bolts to the brake calipers and slide the calipers off. Once I've done this, I repeat the same on the other side. Once that's done, using my 17 and 22mm Allen keys, I crack the spindle nut to break it loose before I then use my paddock stand and jack up the front end. With the front end fully jacked up and secure, I fully undo the spindle nut and take the spindle out. After which, I'm able to fully remove the front wheel. With the front wheel now off my bike and on my workbench, I use my small pry bar to pry out both the dust seals. On one side of the hub, the bearings are held in place by a C-clip. I use my needle nose pliers and a little bit of help from the small pry bar to remove the C-clip from the hub. To remove the old bearings, put your metal bar into the hub until you catch the inside race of the far bearing. Give it a whack and then move your metal bar to the opposite side and repeat the process. Keep doing this to make sure you push out the old bearing evenly and square. Eventually, the old bearing will fall out the other side of the hub. When the first bearing falls out, the bearing spacer should also fall out with it. It's really important to remember to put this back in later on. I flip the wheel over and repeat this process again, knocking out the second bearing. With all the bearings and spacers out, I give the hub a quick clean up and then I grease the new bearings ready to go in the hub. The ideal tool for the next part would be a bearing driver or a socket what's the same size as the outer diameter of your bearing race. I don't have either of them, so instead I'm going to use my flathead screwdriver to tap on the outer race of the bearing, working my way from side to side, working the bearing down evenly until it's seated correctly. I'm being extra careful not to touch the inner race or any other part of the bearing, as I don't want to damage it while installing it. When the bearing is seated correctly in the hub, you should be able to see the groove for the C-clip. Using your needle nose pliers, refit the C-clip into the hub. Now that the first bearing is in place and secure, flip the wheel over and place in the bearing spacer, followed by the second bearing. Keep driving the bearing down until it meets the bearing spacer. You'll know when it's seated correctly because you'll also hear the tone change. With both the bearings seated correctly, Give the hub a quick wipe with a rag and then get your new dust seals. Before fitting them, smear a bit of red rubber grease on them and then fit them by hand. Give the hub one last clean with some rag, and now the front wheel is ready to go back on the bike. Put the wheel spacers back into the front wheel, then lift it up to the forks. Once you've got it all in line, slide the front spindle back into place. Then do up the spindle nut. Once that's all done, you can then do up the 6mm pinch bolts at the bottom of your forks. After doing up all of the pinch bolts, you need to put your brake calipers back on the bike. If they're a little bit tight to get back on the disc, use your little pry bar between the brake pads to push the pistons back and give yourself a little bit more room to make it a little easier. And the final thing to do is pump up your front brake lever until it feels firm again.
That's it, job done. Front wheel bearings on a 2001 ZX6R J2 replaced. It's a really simple and easy job, and hopefully you found this video useful, and after watching it you'll feel confident having a go at doing this job yourself at home. Whether you've got a ZX6R J2 or a different type of bike, the process of changing the wheel bearings is fairly similar and almost the same each time. Hope you've enjoyed watching the video. If so, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel and let me know what you think in the comments. So that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching.